welcome back to a new episode of Empowered Youth. If you are new, my name is Wendy Graves, and I am the host of this podcast channel. If you like what you have been listening to, you can always follow me on the app you are listening to, and you can follow me on my Instagram account, which is eli.graves061310. I also have an Instagram account for this podcast, which is called Empowered Youth 109. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that we have another guest speaker on today's episode. Would you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I am Wendy and I am Eli's mother. I'm so happy that he invited me to be on here because this isn't a powered youth podcast, but I like to refer to myself as young. As our church says, if you're a senior, they call themselves the recycled teens, and I'm not a senior citizen yet, but I'm a little bit of a recycled teen, so I'm still youth.
What do you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a mother of three. Have 3 children. Olivia, she's age 16. Eli, 15, and we have Boone also, who is 6. And like the way he likes to say it, he's 6, but this week he's going to be 7. So for all of you trending people, he's 6'7" right now. I am a full-time mother. I'm a follower of Christ. I'm married to my wonderful husband who pastors. So together we have a church, and I also work full-time in the healthcare industry.
Well, thank you for introducing yourself. On today's episode, we will be talking about God's will and what it may look like for you. I will be comparing my experience and my mom's experience of being transferred to a different state. But before we get into the podcast, my mom will be giving her testimony.
Well, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. I think anytime you get a chance to talk about what God's done to you, it's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And your testimonies are they're personal, but they're always someone out there that needs to hear it or that can have a takeaway from it. I was saved at a really young age. I was in church my whole life. My mom and dad, it was a priority for us. My dad worked a lot growing up. He worked a lot of hours just to help provide. So I say my mom. So there were times that he missed, but she made sure we were always in church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. And so a strong background in the importance of going to church and putting God first. But I think a lot of times, and as I give my testimony, I think we're all guilty of this, and that, you're going through life and you just depend on someone else's walk with Christ, or you just depend on, like you're hanging on to your parents' salvation, or you're hanging on to someone else's prayers. And there comes a point in time where you got to realize it's got to be a personal walk yourself. It's got to be something specific to you, because you can't get into heaven based on what your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister did, right,
Mm-hmm.
Eli?
Yep.
So, like I said, I was saved at a young age, but even when I was little, I can remember laying in the bed as a little girl, and I was so scared to death that I would die and I would go to hell. And I remember, being just small and praying at night in the bed. I'd be like, God, I don't want to die and go to hell. Please forgive me. Please don't let anything keep me from being in heaven. And even though, that's kind of I look back, I think about the relationship I had with God at that time. And so while I was saved, I don't think I truly understood the love that God had for me. So it took until I was 21 years old. And it was a sanctification process in me. And it was at that moment, and I'll rewind a minute with my testimony, but it was when I was 21, in a moment of healing, that I realized how much God loved me, how much He adored me, and how He chose me. He made me. He created me for purpose. And I loved him so much in that moment. It was an overwhelming sense of love. And I think I realized at that moment how much I just wanted to sit at his feet and love him and bask in what he was. And even if he gave me nothing else, he'd given me enough, because he'd given me eternal life.
Right.
If I choose to follow him. And so I think at that moment I really understood that up until that point I had lived a relationship with God in fear of going to hell, instead of living a relationship with Christ,
Mm-hmm.
as in loving him.
Right.
So I think my mentality changed at that point, because
Right.
at that point I wanted to love Christ because he loved me. Instead of living in fear, it was out of love. And it took me, that relationship took me to a new level in my Christian walk. And we're always growing. I think there's never a point where we arrive until the day we do arrive. You know,
Right.
Eli, I think that each day we're growing and we're learning, and sometimes we stumble, sometimes we fall. You know, we're human. We mess up each day, and I think that's important, that we all need to know that even the greatest Christians mess up each day. And I'm so thankful for his grace and mercy, because each day I can get up and say, thank you, God, for this grace and this mercy. So growing up, like I said, I had wonderful parents, and they prayed for me, and they watched me go through rough years of teenage life and the struggles of being a teenager. But there's nothing that your parents can't save you. And as much as they prayed for me, which obviously their prayers were what got me to that point, but I dealt with some depression. I dealt with some deep depression in my high school years and in my early college years. And, you know, I realized that, and obviously God uses medicine. He uses doctors and people like that to make medicines to help people that are struggling with those. But in that season in my life, medication wasn't working to help with my depression. It wasn't. And my only hope was God. But I had struggled for years with that depression. And then when I was 21, he took it completely away from me. And I believe God was telling me, I don't believe, I know he was telling me at that moment when he took that from me. And when I talk about a depression, it was a deep, dark depression, some suicidal thoughts, and it had captivated me, and it had ripped me away from friends, it had ripped me away from relationships. It had taken away who I was and myself. I was trying to think the right word. My self-esteem. I didn't even know who I was, because I was in such a dark place. But when I was 21, and it was like I'd hit rock bottom and I had nowhere else to turn, and I was in such a dark place. And it was at that moment that God reached out, and he met me in my moment of sorrow and my deep wounds. He met me there, and he took those from me, and he delivered me from those things. And he promised me at that moment on that I would not deal with depression again. I wouldn't deal with that, and that he had broken the generational bondages of depression. And I'm so thankful for who he is. And I do want to share one more thing, and we'll get on with the testimony. A few months ago, I had the opportunity to go on this retreat that I was asked to come and speak some on this retreat. It was down at the beach at Hilton Head. I was so thankful for that opportunity. It was beautiful. It was a low-key time. It was a time I got down there a day before everybody else did, and I just got to bask with the Lord and just enjoy that time.
And before you move on, I'm sorry, just going along with what you said about praying that you wouldn't go to sleep and end up in hell. I've always said that I really wanted to, once I got to heaven, the first thing that I wanted to do was wash Jesus' feet like he washed his disciples.
Absolutely.
And I always wanted to. I don't know that he will let me because I don't think he let his disciples. But I would be continuous in wanting to do it, even if I don't get to. But sorry.
No. That's a good thought. There's going to be so many joys there one day.
Right.
So I was down in Hilton Head, and I had gotten there, and I was so tired, and I had talked myself. I was like, I'm going to get up early. I want to go see the sunrise, because most of the time we go to the beach on the Gulf Coast, so you don't really get to see the sunrise over the ocean. So this time I was on the East Coast, and I was like, I'm getting up, and I'm going to go watch the sunrise if I can. But I had driven that day and hadn't been to bed after I worked a night shift. So I was like, can I trust myself to do what I say I'm going to do?
Yeah.
Am I going to, like, I have the motive, like, I want to. Am I going to be motivated? Am I going through with what I'm saying I'm going to go through
That's
with?
how I live. Am I going to be able to do this, or am I just going to have to call it off?
So I'd set my alarm, and I was like, okay, we'll see. We'll see if I get up. So that morning, the alarm went off.
Either way, you're going to get up because you got to turn it off.
That's right. Well, the alarm went off, and I looked at that alarm, and I shut it off. I'm like, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. But you know what's funny is I wasn't even seeking something from the Lord, but this is just how good He is. I wasn't asking for anything, but sometimes He says, you get out of your comfort zone, you get out of your easy place, and I'm going to meet you there. But that morning, after I shut my alarm off, and this is Eastern time, so the people that would contact me are in Central time, so it'd be even earlier for them. I got so many texts that morning from different people when my alarm was going off. And so finally, after I'd answered,
they'd have to wait.
Well, after I answered 3 or 4 people, I was like, dang, I'm getting up. Okay, I'm up. So I got up, and I went down to the beach, and I watched that sunrise. And I was a little hesitant, but I did it. But when I got down there and I saw that sunrise, and we all know it was absolutely beautiful. And as I was watching it, that morning, it brought me to tears. And I realized that in this season of my life, God gave me a sunrise. It's a new beginning. It's a fresh start. Mistakes of yesterday are cleansed. Our souls are renewed. And today we're stepping in to this plan and this purpose that He has for us. But we can't do that without taking the time to breathe in His fresh anointing, the love and the grace that He's given to us all. And that goes back to my testimony. That's why I wanted to share that. We have to get out of our comfort zones, and we have to be willing to meet God. He's not, I think, He's not a pushy person. But if we take the first step, He's going to meet us.
Right. But like you were saying, it's always a good thing, or it's always good to get out of bed and see a sunrise if you can, because some people won't see a sunrise that next day.
What about if you want a burger? You eat a burger?
Yep. But yeah, you need to be thankful for what you can go out and see. So I'm not a morning person, but
no.
I get up terrible.
No.
But
yes, he's horrible to get up, if you're wanting to know.
But I mean, if I could get up and see a beach sunrise, I would. It's just a thought that I may not be able to live a next sunrise. So yeah, it's always
don't take for granted.
Yeah, don't take for granted.
And we can do that with a lot of things, I think.
Yeah. But was that it, or were you wanting to share anything else?
I was going to say, I'm sure there's more to say, but yeah. I can talk for a lot, but we can.
I mean, that's what it is. But so I remember before we had moved the first time, we moved twice.
Yes.
We lived in 3 states but moved twice. But we lived in this white house for a little while. For
Yes.
about how long?
I think it was almost 3 years that we were there after we sold our home in Kentucky.
And our house only sold in a week, right?
That's correct.
Um.
So we moved to Memphis, Tennessee to pastor a church. My husband took a church there, and we knew it was God's will. But prior to that, we had this season of growing. You know, I think Christians are all there. We had a house, a beautiful home, and our flesh believed that was like our forever home. We built it on some land my parents had given us, and you know, we just think it's our forever home. Do you remember your beautiful bedroom there?
Oh yes. In the White House.
Oh, I'm talking about the green. Okay. Our home that we lived in before we moved into the White House.
Oh, I think it was a baseball themed room, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Pretty blue walls.
Yeah.
So we had.
I like that.
Oh yeah,
I liked it.
It was beautiful. Lots of good memories. But I had good memories. I've had good memories in many places. But we had what I thought was our forever home, and I was praying one day, and I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that God was like, sell it. What I didn't know at that point, I think God was preparing us for obedience in that season. And I knew we had to sell it. But you're hanging on to the flesh. And I didn't want to sell it. And I told my husband, I said, if this is God's will, he's going to have to sell it. And he's going to have to sell it fast. Yeah. And we're going to have to get out of that house fast because I'm going to be too sad. So we put it on the market. The house sells in 6 days, and we're out of that house in 3 weeks. And I'm like, okay, God, I get you. I hear you. I hear you. And then we moved into the White House, and we were there for a couple of years. But
why were we there for that long?
Well, we moved out of that house because we heard God telling us to sell that house. And so we're in this transition season of praying, and we're like, okay, God, like, what next? We're here. Right. We did what you said. Come on. What you want from us? We're waiting. But he was preparing us, and he was teaching us to wait. And he was teaching. It was a season of obedience. Mm-hmm. But I know right before we moved to Memphis, we didn't know we were moving there yet. Mm-hmm. And we were in this rental house, and I love that rental house. I love that property. I had a lot of good memories there. But I remember looking at my husband, and I said, I can't explain this feeling. I said, because I love it here, and this has always been home. I said, but I can't help but feel like I'm not home anymore. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't but a week or two that he began getting phone calls wanting him to interview to take the pastoral position there in Memphis. And it was God preparing. And if you allow God to speak to you, and if you stop and listen, and if you're obedience, he's never going to lead you the wrong way, and he's always going to give you direction.
Right. And what was your job like there? Like, did you enjoy it
before we moved to Memphis?
Well, both in Memphis and.
So I absolutely loved my job. I worked for a flight team transporting critically ill babies and children. We would do ambulance and helicopter. Mm-hmm. And I worked at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, and I had worked there for, at the time, 17 years. And that was my first job out of college. And I honestly thought I would be there until I retired. I loved the job, had some of the best friends there. And so when I say sometimes being obedient doesn't mean it's always easy, because even though I knew it was God's will, I felt it was God's will, I kind of went kicking and screaming about leaving my job. Right. It was hard. It was hard, and I wanted to hang on. I stayed PRN there, so I would work every now and then, driving back from Memphis to go drive to Vanderbilt, not making any money because the drive, I was putting gas in my vehicle, but I was trying to hang on to it.
Right.
And I finally realized one day I got to let it go. And when I let it go, I made two of the best friends I ever had. And things began to fall into place. And I did the same type of work there in Memphis. I worked for Lubbock Children's Hospital flying there also. Now, I was going to say we were at a flight base and we did rotor. And I said I did rotor the last job. The last job we did fixed wing and ambulance. But at the job in Memphis, we did rotor wing, ambulance, and fixed wing there. But I loved those people, but I had to let go of the past. And I think we so oftentimes want to hang on to the past. And that's why we can't look forward to what God has for us, because we're hanging on to what's behind us.
Right. And before we move to our second move, I just wanted to say that, like, my experience, I went kicking and screaming as well. But when we moved in that White House, like, I had totally just forgot why we were there. Like, and when Daddy had told us we're moving, he had called us in there. I remember very vividly that he had said, "Kids, we're moving," and I'm 98% sure that my jaw had dropped because it came to me as a shock because I forgot why we were there, and I remembered why, But I mean, I forget a bunch of things, so it's not shocking that I forget a bunch of things. But we move, and then I'm just nervous because I'm scared that there won't be people that will like us.
New church, new school, new
surroundings. Right. Yeah. And I was very nervous because where we came from was a small town. Everybody knew everybody kind of thing. But this was going to be like a city.
Right.
And
a different culture.
Right.
Yeah.
Best catfish, but
we were in small town America, and we were going to a city that recently statistics shows has a violent crime rate of 290% higher than the national average. So a little bit different than where we came
got
from.
A taste of gangsta there. We got a big taste of gangsta. But
and if you can't tell in our voice, we're not gangster.
No. But so when we had first day of school, y'all were like, would you like to go finish the whole day, or would you like to experience a full day there? We were like, let's just do the half a day, because I was not about to be in school for one whole day at a place I did not know of. But I remember when I go there, I go into class, and I feel like they were learning about volcanoes. Not that that matters, but like
it's just memory that stuck with you.
Yeah. But my teacher had this little couch in a reading area. She told me to go sit down, and I was like, okay. I was nervous, but we go to lunch, and I cried the whole time. I didn't even eat. I specifically remember they had breakfast for lunch. But I mean, now looking back at it, I should have ate the meal because, and I love food.
I think what's interesting about that, Eli, is you were talking about what a hard experience you had going to that school and how scary it was. And I think back to right before we moved, his 8th grade year, he was awarded Student of the Year at that school.
Oh, yeah. They gave me this plaque, too. It was awesome.
And that shows you how good God is, and when He takes you into those moments that are scary and stuff.
Right.
He doesn't leave or forsake you, and you let your light shine there at that school.
Right. And the person who had the teacher I had, I absolutely loved him. He was awesome. He was very funny, very lenient. I mean, and he even said he did not like yelling because it makes his head hurt. But I mean, he would get on to you if you were doing something bad, but that's just tough love. But anyways, I loved that teacher. He made my day every day. Honestly, he didn't even feel like a teacher. He felt like a friend more than a teacher.
It sounds like it was a calling for him.
Oh yeah.
And I think we spoke to him right before
Mhm.
at the end of the school year when we prayed with him and
Yeah.
he told us what an impact you had made on his life. But he was super great man.
Yeah. And he was the one who told all the teachers to vote for me for student of the year. But yeah, if you follow God, he'll give you a great reward. So
it's not always. I will say I don't think it's always about the reward, but I think that if you are obedient, he's not gonna leave you in those spots. Because I don't. I mean, as you know, and you've seen how things are. There have been a lot of hard moments in ministry, a lot of hard moments when we're serving God, and I think there have been moments that you want to throw your hands up. I know one day I was like, Brian, to my husband, I'm like, you got this pastor thing. I don't know that I got this pastor wife thing. I don't. And he was like, well, he didn't call me and not call you. And I'm like, I'm feeling at the moment. You know, I mean, you vent, and you have hard days, but and I think sometimes the flesh and your emotions, especially, I can be tired and overwhelmed, and I'm like, am I even doing this right? Am I even like making a difference?
Right.
But I think a lot of times when we're serving God and stuff, we like to think about how we feel in the flesh and how it makes us feel and like being blessed ourselves. And I think back to like a lot of the stories in the Bible, and there were definitely some characters that were persecuted.
Yeah.
And God didn't leave or forsake them, though. But I was going to say life wasn't easy. I was going to say they were in prison, they were beheaded, they were,
Right. And when you said a person, I thought you were about to say there were people that were weird, and I was about to laugh because there were some very odd people in Mississippi. But I'm gonna try not to expose too much. But I remember the first day, so it was right before lunch. There was this little boy, or I won't say little, I was also little. But there was this boy who so he was asking me if I had a lunchbox or a tray trying to get, the count. I think it was during COVID, wasn't it?
Well, we had went there, and then right after you guys went to school, COVID hit, and then you started going to school from home. Yeah,
right. And I remember him asking me lunchbox or tray, so I could hardly understand him
because of the culture there.
Yeah, I could hardly understand him.
He was probably thinking the same thing about you.
I mean, I was like, what? He said lunchbox or tray. I said, what? I could not. I told my parents, I said, he had big gums. And I'm like, they started laughing. But it was a very different culture down there. I mean,
we loved it. We embraced it, and they loved us.
Right.
And we've made lifelong friends. And it shows you that you don't have to look alike. You don't have to talk alike.
Right. You just
got to.
You got to have the differences, because I'm sure that most friends are not very alike. Because if you are alike, then you must argue a lot because you have a whole bunch of things in common. So
That's
I think different. If you have friends that are different, if you know people that are different, I feel like you should embrace it but also learn from them and what they do. But that's not the point. It's just trying to embrace your surroundings as well. Um, but
And since Memphis, we've moved again.
yeah,
God began to work on us in our lives with moving to another church, and it was one of those things. We were happy. Things were going great. And there in Memphis, we weren't looking to leave. We weren't looking for anything.
Right, things were awesome.
And I think God began to work on my husband's heart. And then, I mean, it's not just one of us. When God calls you, your family dynamics, and I think He began to work on each of us in different ways. And so we made the move 12 hours to Virginia to pastor a church in the middle of the state in Virginia, and ministry here looks completely different than ministry in the Memphis area.
And what I was gonna say is, what's crazy is before we moved, my dad, like, it was like a day before they accepted the move, or well, it wasn't a day before they accepted it. It was just a day before they got the offer to move. But my dad, we were riding in the truck. My dad was like, "How would y'all feel if we moved?" I was like, "No, I did not want no part of it." Olivia was like, "Sure." Because
and that
like
definitely shows
Virginia,
your personality.
Oh yeah, and Ben, I'm sure he was all for it. I don't remember.
I think he was just like, whatever. If we
Right. Just living the dream.
Just give me some Roblox and some Buzz and Woody, and
yeah. But I was like, no, I do not want any part of that move because I hated this. I didn't
change.
Okay, yeah, I
Change
hated the change. I was about to say I hated the school, but no, I do not hate the school. I hate moving different schools.
It's hard to start all over.
Right, but they mentioned if we moved, what we would, if our minds would change if we did homeschooling. And I was like, yes, let's move.
Let's do it tomorrow,
right?
But where we going? I'm packing my bags now. I'll see you. I'll meet you in the car.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're like, all boxes loaded, locked and loaded. Let's leave. But I hate school, and I did. Once I went to school, like right after we moved, I did not enjoy it because it's a new experience. But because I have to restart the process all over again, find new friends, find people that I like,
learn your way around, get them to know you,
and it was just hard.
Well, and I think what I've learned, because I'm a lot like Eli too, it's hard for me to start all over. I'm not graceful in the change, but God still continues to help make me embrace change. I'm currently going through some job changes, and my husband was like, well, do you like it? And I'm like, I'm trying to like it. I'm trying. And it's not that I don't even know that I'm even going to like it or I'm not going to like it. It is the change.
Right.
But you know what? Big things come from getting out of your comfort zones, don't they?
Right.
And you can pull that back into your walk with Christ. He doesn't always cause us to live in our comfort zones.
Right.
Yeah.
But after we moved, I feel like we were like, okay, we experienced how it would feel. Now we're ready for a second move. And we were all for it because we thought it was going to be countryside, mountains everywhere, very beautiful. But where we are living at right now is kind of still city-like, but it's mixed
with some. The church is rural, but we are currently renting a house that's in the city. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Liberty University. We're in that town, which it's a great town. I was going to say it's a great place to come visit. Beautiful mountains around us. You can drive around the town, see the mountains. So,
but we again came in kicking and screaming. because we thought it would be the same thing. We thought that it would be the same process, but no, God had something completely different in store for us. But yeah, that is basically how our life is.
So, I mean, I would be interested in hearing other people and what they feel about
Oh,
it,
yeah.
like, and
Right.
their walk and what I was going to say. So, shout out on Instagram.
Right, yeah. Again, I have my Instagram account dedicated to my podcast, which again is Empowered Youth 109. You can send me a DM, and we would love to hear your story on how your life is going. If you have anything interesting going on, shout out. Just reach out, and we
And if
will
there's something
try
you want to hear us talk about or him talk about,
Yeah.
send that in.
Right. And I'll try my best to look at it. Give me a couple days because I try to do good at responding, but
I'm going
not
to teach him
very.
to do better. He's going to be better. He's going to get on that. He's like that with his schoolwork too.
Yeah.
That's why he's got Mama Bear here.
But again, thank you for listening.
Thanks for letting me talk today.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. And if you want to follow me, you can, which will allow you to get updated when I post more podcasts. And don't forget to follow me on my Instagram account.
Look
Which
at your
is
trailer.
right. Yeah, look at my trailer.
And
It should have a little bit of information there.
And I think it's important as we close out, we want each and every person to know that we love you all and we're praying. And
Right.
Thank you for listening to my middle child. He's doing big things for the Lord, and I'm blessed by that. So we hope. Do you hope to see him here next time?
I do. I hope to see you here next time. It's Eli
and Wendy.
And we are out. Peace.